Everybody, I'm finishing out my bingo card for tonight because there are some things I haven't watched a review yet, but there are some things that I am certain are gonna get said tonight. So I'm just typing out some of those. Welcome everybody. Let a couple more people get in here before I get started. But that's where I'm at right now. We'll go ahead and get started, honestly. But yeah, so I have a couple of things in my notepad that are common things that happen in Sonic reviews. You might hear some of them where they might do them. Like you'll see the first two are mentions 06 or Boom, or there's a rough transition talking about the 3D games when this isn't a 3D game. Has nothing to do with the most recent 3D game outside of being in the canon universe. And it just, there's a lot of things in here, and I will go out to them once we come across them, if we do. And I want everybody in chat to keep track of our score at the end, and we'll tally it up, see what I got right, see what I got wrong. But I saw it got posted earlier today, and I wanted to see it because like there was some discussions on Twitter about it. I don't know what the final score is. All I know is that like it's an IGN review, so you know we watch those with great interest in the first place, mainly because what started with Sonic 08 or Sonic Unleashed, Sonic 08, Jesus. What started with Sonic Unleashed, where they were just like incredibly disingenuous in their review and rated it incredibly harsh for a game that didn't really have a lot of technical issues. It was just different. And you know the whole story. If you're a Sonic fan, you've been here coming off the release of Sonic 06. Everything was terrible. But without further ado, man, let's just get into this review. Get started. Excited. Hold on, let me pull up my notepad so I can keep that going while the video is popping off.
Most Sonic games put the pedal to the metal, but Sonic Superstars trades the traditional breakneck pace for new Chaos Emerald abilities.
Already got one. So I put this here. We already have one. Where is it? Direct or indirect comparison to the pace of the Boost games. We are 10 seconds in, and I already have something on my card. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put an X next to it, or not an X, but a asterisk. I'll put an asterisk next to it if we can check it off our list. Oh my God, this is fun. We got Sonic review bingo going. So that's what's gonna happen with that asterisk next to it as they keep going. I'm so glad we got one this fast. Was not expecting that.
Larger focus on exploration and slightly more challenging bosses.
Exploration is like Sonic CD.
Works well for the majority of Superstars, as a slightly different flavor of Sonic can be fun. I couldn't help but feel like it was missing the main thing I love about the series: speed.
Prefers the Boost formula. It's missing the thing that she loves the most, which is speed. Missing speed in a Sonic game. The baby, what are we doing? What, like, can we regroup, please? Can we please regroup? I was not expecting like 2 of these before a minute, before 30 seconds. Good God, man, I am fucking cooking. Yeah, all right. I love the Tyson Hesse animation so much. So fun.
Sonic Superstars campaign is split into 3 stories across 11 zones all over the new North Star Islands, showcasing flashy levels that occasionally draw inspiration from other well-known stages in Sonic's history. For example, the Speed Jungle Zone brings back the use of vines from the original Sonic the Hedgehog's Jungle Zone, Pinball Carnival.
You mean the Game Gear? The Game Gear one? Oh man, she is. Boy, that's a deep pull. It's like she said Sonic 1's Jungle Zone. I'm like, Sonic 1 the Sonic 1 that everybody else knows doesn't have a Jungle Zone. I'll let that slide.
Both a fun and spooky twist on Sonic 3's Carnival Night Zone, and the Press Factory is a more industrial version of the Press Garden Zone from Sonic Mania. I don't think any of the new stages will crack the top of my list of all-time Sonic favorites, but there are a lot of great additions to the series here, and I enjoyed that each one has a cool quirk with it. One is a giant snake burrowing throughout the level that gives you a slight bounce when moving along it, while another has patches of thick fog that obscure your vision. I also really enjoyed Lagoon City, which felt like a giant water theme park and made the best use of the new water power granted by one of the Chaos Emeralds.
I just want to pause and say that I really like the aesthetic of this game. Like, everything looks really colorful,
Snake burrowing
dynamic.
throughout the level that gives you a slight bounce.
There's a lot of variance in the stages. Like that Lagoon City, Speed Jungle, Press Factory, like all of that looks really cool. Like everything like has its own flavor, and the usage of color is incredible.
While another has patches of thick fog that obscure your vision. I also really enjoyed Lagoon City, which felt like a giant water theme park and made the best use of the new water power granted by one of the Chaos Emeralds. There are multiple routes to take in each level. The higher you ascend, the faster the route, while the lower routes focus even more on the platforming side. At first, it was fun to explore those lower routes using different playable characters and the various Chaos Emerald powers to explore their less streamlined paths for secrets, but after discovering my only reward for that exploration was either more rings or a currency used on cosmetics in the lackluster multiplayer battle mode, there wasn't much incentive to try and navigate the extra hazards and enemies.
I think I have another one. Okay, so I could have two, like with the you have to play multiple times to get good scores, and she didn't say that verbatim, but it's still like, why would I do this if there's no extra reward? Your extra reward is a better score. Like that's what the reward is more speed and a better score. But I'm not gonna count it this time. I'm not gonna count this one.
That meant I eventually just wanted to stick to some good old-fashioned going fast, but even when I took the highest routes, I didn't feel the speed I've come to expect over the past 30 years of Sonic.
We just got a three-piece. Little. I'm gonna say like this could be 4 really. So like the first one, momentum. Obviously, it's like, cause she mentioned the speed that she's come to expect from Sonic. So like we're gonna put that one in momentum, right? Little to no experience. I mean, I could say that one because everything that I've seen basically says this is like, it's a classic game. They even took the mechanics from Mania and, just added a new 2.5D art style on it. So like I could slip on that one, but the where was it? Did I star that one? Okay, cool. Yeah, I put 2D roots as like that word being used specifically, but I could also take it here because she said the speed that I've come to expect from Sonic when all of the 2D games have pretty much maintained around the same level of speed. The only exceptions really being the Rush games because that was the series that introduced the boost formula. So I get it on that one. I understand, but we're still taking those. Did I? Oh, I want to go back and make sure I didn't miss one.
Streamline paths for secrets, but after discovering my only reward for that exploration was either more rings or a currency used on cosmetics in the lackluster multiplayer battle mode, there wasn't much incentive to try and navigate the extra hazards and enemies. That meant I eventually just wanted to stick to some good old-fashioned going fast, but even when I took the highest routes, I didn't feel the speed I've come to expect over the past 30 years of Sonic.
Okay. So I'm gonna devil's advocate this one because I want to say hasn't played a Sonic game in years because again, the speed is one of the few consistent things across the 2D titles unless the game has boost in it. That's something that you know and feel if you've continued to play these games over the years. Yep.
It wasn't until after the 15 hours I spent clearing all the story content that I was able to go back and start to find more efficient routes in order to get a better feeling of that speed. Still,
I am so good at calling people the fuck out. I'm gonna rewind it. I want to hear that again. I have that point in there almost
routes,
word for
I didn't
word.
feel the speed I've come to expect over the past
Almost
30
word
years
for
of
word.
Sonic.
That's one of them.
It wasn't until after the 15 hours I spent clearing all the story content that I was able to go back and start to find more efficient routes in order to get a better feeling of that speed. Still, that doesn't help the fact that everything feels a bit too slow out the gate for your first playthrough.
Oh man, it's too easy. It's too easy. You have to play multiple times. Yep, get good scores. Going in that one. I can't say that I can actually delete this one. I'm gonna do you a favor, IGN. I'm gonna delete that one because you mentioned Sonic 1 Game Gear. So kudos, you get points for that one. Yeah, word. Got it.
Collecting the Chaos Emeralds is more straightforward than ever this time, as the increased focus on exploration encouraged me to seek out the giant golden rings that hide them during my travels. Finding one sends you off to play a short minigame to earn the emerald, which ended up being the one minigame I didn't mind stopping for, as it was both entertaining and rewarding. And the Chaos Emeralds are no longer relegated to only granting Sonic the ability to go super, as each one now grants a unique power. Abilities like Avatar and Bullet became quick favorites of mine. Avatar creates clones that race across the screen, while Bullet lets you launch yourself in the direction of your choice multiple times. Bullet became extremely helpful when playing as Sonic specifically too, as he lacks the extra movement options you get when you play as Tails, Knuckles, or Amy.
It's cool.
Superstars
powers.
3 campaign story pits Sonic and friends against Eggman and Fang, though Eggman does most of the heavy lifting. He'll challenge you regularly with various egg machines shaped like clowns, dragonflies, and giant mechs, and more. But gone are the days of constantly bouncing to destroy them quickly. Long sections of them being untargetable as you wait to counter specific attacks can mean bosses often outstay their welcome as they sometimes double or triple the completion time of a stage.
Like they normally do. These bosses have phases, right? Or they'll go into what's called a desperation mode. That's been a thing since at least 3 and Knuckles, where like something will go faster or they'll destroy more of the screen or have more obstacles on screen for you to hit. Like that's been a thing. That is staple. Do I have that in the notes? That's been a staple thing though. Like that's nothing new. That is nothing new.
Meanwhile, Fang might have some of the most challenging boss fights in any Sonic game. With
Cap, go play them Master King Trials. Go play them shits today. Buy Sonic Frontiers, play the Master King Trials. There is no shot that you said that after having done that shit. I did that shit on hard difficulty on stream. Ask about me, nigga. My name ring bells.
Small vulnerability windows to take damage, multiple phases, and numerous one-hit kill attacks that ignore your collection of rings.
So a Sonic boss. Like, what are we doing? Like, that is a Sonic boss, man. Like, hell, as far back as Sonic 2, you could get crushed by the hammer in Aquatic Ruin Zone. Like, that's a thing. That's what it does. That's not new. That's not new to this game. That's also not a detriment to this game. That's how shit's always worked.
This started as a welcome difficulty spike, but became flat out frustrating after fights started to drag on.
Yep. I'm gonna double star that shit because I put that shit in there for that exact reason, because I hear so many complaints about like personal difficulty means something's wrong with the game. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. Start out with 2 complaints about the game not being explained. Like, you know how this works, and if you don't, the game is games are pretty good about telling you when something is extremely dangerous, because it has a very long startup time, or there won't be anything else on the screen and you and your enemy are just having a staring contest. Yeah.
Thankfully, you'll still be able to enjoy Superstar's phenomenal soundtrack as you fight them, with music that matches the theme of each stage perfectly. I
agree.
couldn't find one that didn't have me tapping my toes to their percussive and electronic beats.
Nearly
every track
bangers
with
on this
a
soundtrack.
Special shout out to Lagoon City Act 2 had me replaying their stages just to idle and listen to their music. Unfortunately, the sound design isn't up to the same standard. I don't know who thought listening to this for minutes on end was a good idea. I ended up muting my TV at times to keep myself from getting a splitting headache.
That's probably like one stage, gang.
Superstars also includes 4-player drop-in, drop-out local co-op, but as great as this sounds, it could be better in its execution. The experience is clever at its best and frustrating at its worst, as the camera doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason for who it decides to follow.
Camera issues, we back, baby. That's consistency, nigga. This is consistency. It's always been camera issues. Hello, it's my dog.
Sometimes it would track me as Sonic as I sped past my co-op partner playing Knuckles, while other times it would allow me.
It follows the lead player. That's how it's been since 1992. It follows the character the furthest out front.
To run off the screen while he climbed a wall. This type of thing was a constant occurrence. It's also a shame that Superstars doesn't
keep up.
Feature any accessibility settings, and many actions require repetitive button presses. This would
man, I'm good. I told y'all, I am just good. I'm just that fucking good, dog. I am that damn good.
It'd be fine if it weren't a common occurrence, but anyone who wants to make full use of flying as Tails needs to constantly press the jump button to ascend in height.
1992. That is always how that has worked in 2D Sonic. You mentioned a stage from the Game Gear Sonic 1, so I know you've at least played up to Sonic 2. In 2D games, to increase Tails' height, you always had to mash X. In the 3D games, when you want it to fly, you're automatically at your max height, or you just keep going to your max height every time you push the button. If Tails is playable outside of the mech. But that's literally how that's worked since his introduction. I don't know why you would think that that's a point of contention now.
The worst offender, though, is one of the later bosses that can capture you in an electric web, and if you fail to break free via button mashing, it hits you with a one-hit KO move.
Don't get hit by that attack. Do we want difficulty in our games or not? If you get caught in the web and you don't mash out, there is a consequence for your failure to mash out. This is not new. It's the same thing that happens in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the Hydro City Zone boss, where you get caught in a little fucking tornado. If you don't jump out of it in time, you will get hit by the propeller blades. It's no fucking different. I'm gonna, you know what? Where is it? I'm gonna take another one. I'm gonna take another star for this one. And then I'm gonna take a star for this one, because that's like, oh my god, you got caught in this attack, which usually gives you around 3 seconds to mash out. And if you don't mash out, you die. Yeah. Yes, because if you mash out, you don't die. That's the consequence. It's an ebb and flow of a boss battle, man. Like that's how that works.
Outside of the campaign, the battle mode and time attack mode are pretty bare bones. I don't expect a lot from a time attack mode, and this one at least does have simple leaderboards to see others in your best times. It's serviceable if you want to know just how fast you gotta go, but it's a bummer that you can only challenge the ghost of your own best times and not those who may have ranked higher on the leaderboard.
I do agree with that. That's a very valid criticism. Like, at this point, we should have ghost battles in anything, like online ghosts in anything that has a time attack mode. I think that should be standard. If it's in fucking Mario Kart, you would think that most of these other platformers or hack and slashes would have that shit in it too, but I don't know. You get good one on that one.
Which would be immensely helpful in learning the best routes to improve my own times. As for the 8-player battle mode, everyone but the most die-hard Sonic fans will probably abandon it as soon as they finish their first match. You and up to 7 others create a robot based on a variety of animals and Sonic characters to compete in 3 random minigames across various maps, which are equally simple and only mildly entertaining at best. I only saw 4 minigame options in the 10 or so matches played: a standard race to the finish, a survival game that challenges you to stay on crumbling platforms, a game called Star Snatcher where you must collect more stars than your opponents, and finally Zap Scrap, which has you blasting opponents with sparks of electricity for points. The higher you place after 3 rounds, the more giant Sonic coins you'll be.
I mean, it could be fun. I don't think anybody was expecting like Mario Party caliber games in a secondary mode on a Sonic game. Like I don't think anybody was expecting that. I hope not.
Be rewarded with, which you can spin in the shop to customize your avatar. You can also earn these coins during the campaign, as anytime you pass a checkpoint with more than 50 rings, it opens a portal that takes you into the classic Sonic minigame, where you must maneuver around the inside of a rotating set of blocks to reach the goal. These were fun initially, but as they began to repeat themselves, I started avoiding them sometimes during the first campaign, and then almost every time in the second, because they just slowed the pacing of the stage down even further.
Wait, with the bonus modes?
Pass a checkpoint with more than 50 rings, it opens a portal that takes you into the classic Sonic minigame, where you must maneuver around the inside of a rotating set of blocks to reach the goal. These were fun initially, but as they began to repeat themselves, I started avoiding them sometimes during the first campaign, and then almost every time in the second, because they...
Yeah, you don't have to do these, like, unless you're trying to grind for like a material, or if they include currency in here, you don't have to do those, fam.
It just slowed the pacing of the stage down even further. I started Hedgehog over heels for Sonic Superstars, but the more time I put into it, the easier it was for me to see its Eggman-sized flaws. The decision to focus on exploration was a great idea on paper, and creates a unique dynamic to each level, but I wish it hadn't sacrificed speed in exchange. The boss designs are
So this is the Sonic CD conundrum all over again, because there is a degree of exploration, optional exploration, because the Emerald powers let you go to other routes that are exclusive to the powers themselves, and sometimes there'll be like hidden in-game currency or like special pickups like out of the way. They've confirmed this, that's not a spoiler, but like for pure Sonic platforming, I have no reason to believe that like the level design or the core focus of the game is anything like it was with CD. That's just me. That's just an observation. This reviewer feels that way. She's entitled to feel that way, but I haven't seen anything that makes me think, damn, this is like Sonic CD. You know what I'm saying?
creative and clever, but often wear out their welcome with long periods of being untargetable and occasionally frustrating one-hit KO mechanics.
Them having invulnerability period is to counteract the fact that in Sonic 1, 2, and certain bosses in 3, if you jumped at the right time, you could basically no-diff the boss because you just bounce off of it indefinitely. It was especially bad in Sonic 2 because you could defeat those bosses in their first cycle or be in a position to hit them as soon as they appear on screen. So that's why they started with 3, they started designing bosses that had a little bit more built into them, and not letting you wail on them with no recovery was part of that plan. Again, nothing new, also nothing really bad about that. That's just, you have some tactics. You can't mash your way through everything.
The soundtrack features some excellent additions to an already long list of Sonic bangers, if only the sound design was up to the same quality standard. And while the campaign is still enjoyable, Superstars multiplayer components are far worse options than anything in the past Sonic games. Like digging...
Superstars has the most options out of everything in past Sonic games that isn't like Sonic Battle, because in the majority of Sonic games that have a multiplayer mode, it's just a race. That's all it is. You have Secret Rings with its party mode. You have this one with its battle mode that has like 3 different mini games and a standard race. But like, for the most part in a Sonic game, if it has a versus mode, it's just get to the end before your enemy does. I don't know what you mean by that last statement. Did I mishear it? But
Sonic bangers.
That's, yeah, like in vast majority of Sonic games that have a versus mode, it's just a race.
Only the sound design was up to the same quality standard. And while the campaign is still enjoyable, Superstars multiplayer components are far worse options than anything in the past Sonic games. Like digging emeralds out of the rough, Sonic Superstars' new ideas end up feeling like a mix of both interesting and ill-advised, making it an amusing Sonic game, but not exactly a super one.
Yep. There it is. Minimal or minor issues like not liking the soundtrack is subjective. No real glitches, no real technical faults. Just the reviewer particularly didn't care for the soundtrack and the multiplayer mode. 7 out of 10. I also called it, because this is the thing. This is what IGN rates games when they don't really know what to give them based on the community response to what they would give them. Like, anytime IGN's like, yeah, man, I like this game, it doesn't have any real technical faults, 7. Like, it's been a thing for Sonic games and some other like platformers and RPGs as well. Like, it's like, yeah, if we rate it like an 8 or a 9, there's gonna be community outrage and that's gonna spark a war. But 7, because 7's not a bad rating. It's not. It says good, but I'm noticing a trend. Like if we get another one like this, then I'll know for sure. But yeah, 7 out of 10. I knew. I knew in my spirit. Didn't compare it to Kirby or Mario, so I missed that point. There was no comparison to Sonic 4. No mention of 06 or Boom. So like I only missed 4 tonight, but there were some double ups, so that definitely makes up for those 4 I missed, man. I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all tapping in on the stream. It's gonna be the VOD will probably be up tomorrow. I was like, I'm gonna just put some background music behind this and put the VOD up, man. But appreciate y'all hanging out with the boy